Hello to the Stockhead faithful, great to be back with you again after a brief trip to Morocco, Salam Alaikum. This week we'll be talking about a WA gold explorer whose share price is on the move and about to start a pretty aggressive exploration program. On the markets, plenty of volatility. The big news, you would have all seen the copper price after reaching a record $5.90 a pound, currently sitting at around $4.40 a pound. The big driver of that move was the announcement by the Trump administration that the tariffs will only apply to semi-finished copper products, wires and pipes, and he won't be taxing ores, cathodes or concentrates. So that's been a pretty big move. The other big news I think that's been ongoing for most of this year has been the rare earth market. Obviously that deal announced with MP Materials in the US, where the US government has put a 10-year floor price of US $110 a kilo for neodymium and praseodymium, really fired up the market. I noticed in a recent report by Morgan Stanley that they're expecting ex-China NdPr prices of over US $200 a kilo. So that's going to have a very significant impact on the economics of a lot of these rare earth projects and some of the ones we've talked about here, Meteoric Resources, Lindian Resources, Viridis, the latter two being in Brazil, and there's a number of others. So, you know, we called the bottom of rare earths last year and it's certainly got some tailwinds. A couple of honourable mentions, Somerset, which I've mentioned before, pulled some pretty good intersections out of their copper mine project, over 40 metres of 2.7% copper with more assays pending. White Cliffs extended their Danvers strike length to up to 400 metres, so plenty of momentum in the Kugluktuk area of Nunavut in Canada, and certainly one to keep an eye on. So on to Sarama Resources, stock of the week, ticker is SRR. One I've mentioned a few times and for good reason. They are making great inroads on a couple of fronts. They closed the Mount Venn acquisition. So between Cosmo and Mount Venn, which is east of Laverton in WA, they've got over 1,000 kilometres of highly prospective Archean greenstone belt. Laverton is endowed with over 35 million ounces to the west. To the east, you've got Gruyere, which was recently acquired by Goldfields, that was endowed with over 8 million ounces. So these two greenstone belts are highly prospective. Recent soil sampling program by Cosmo turned up over 45 kilometres of anomalism. Interestingly, a lot of the anomalism is coincident with intersecting structures. So that drill program hopefully roll out third, fourth quarter this year, and that'll be certainly one to watch. The other news for Sarama was their arbitration claim. They did quantify this at over US $120 million in their recent PowerPoint presentation that was released to the ASX. So the update, the first procedural hearing took place on the 25th of July this year, and they covered procedural matters and a timetable for arbitration. The next step is a written memorial from Sarama, which will detail the case against the Burkina Faso government, collect witness evidence, and file some experts' reports. So this is about 6 months into a 3-year process if it goes to the conclusion, but it may well settle. So plenty of good news for Sarama. Stock's up from around 3 cents to trading well over 4.5 on pretty good volume. A lot of interest in the litigation outcomes here, which I think would be on its own over 20 cents a share, at least on any settlement, but also the interest in both Mount Venn and Cosmo I think is going to continue to drive the stock price. That's all for this week. Look forward to speaking with you again next week.
For more ASX news and analysis, subscribe below.